Good, okay. Put your hand up if you can't hear me.
Kerry, can you please use the mic?
So you didn't hear me?
No.
Okay, so thank you for coming along today. It's great to see that there's people with concerns similar to what we've got. Okay, I'm Kerry Vosseler, a proud Taranaki native, raised here and a New Plymouth resident, ratepayer and business owner for the last 40 years. So as a parent and grandparent over the years, I thought running for upcoming local body elections would help secure a better future for my children and grandchildren. However, with the outrageous spending and out of control spending at the council, rate rises have done so much damage that we need to stand for the entire community. Friends and relatives are having trouble paying their rates. I've got a friend that lives down Sackville Terrace, $14,000 a year, his rate account. One chap out now got a 60% rate rise in the last 2 years. Fitzroy.
Can I ask, do they get anything more than
No,
anybody else?
absolutely nothing.
Exactly.
They get nothing more than, say, Marfell or Vogeltown or anything else. Yeah, but you shouldn't, because you're receiving no more services.
But they've paid the money to be able to get that when they bought their property.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But that's the way that the rating is done more in the capital these days. No, exactly, it is wrong. So Taranaki's story is one of resilience and growth. Over the past 200 years, settlers came to New Zealand and with Maori built a vibrant, diverse community. Agriculture, fishing industry and later the oil and gas industry fueled a vibrant economy, making New Plymouth a great place to raise families and enjoy a rich lifestyle. We are forgetting our history. And today, that legacy is at risk. The New Plymouth District Council is not managing our rates wisely. It is representing central government's agenda, not us. We vote them in, they should be representing us, and that's what we hope to do. We don't utilise local industry. We have preferred supplier contracts with companies that last up to 10 years. For example, Downers and Waste Management. All the profit from these businesses goes overseas. I believe, and so in some cases these contracts last for 10 years. I believe that the roading contract at sort of 2/3 of the way through is just about totally spent. And if Downers repair or create a new road and that develops potholes the next day, we, the ratepayers, pay 50% of those repairs. Now, who wrote these contracts and who approved these contracts? Because I certainly wouldn't approve a contract that's the deal that we get out of it as ratepayers.
CEO.
Yeah.
He bought it across from Taupo. He did the same bullshit over there.
Yeah.
And
You got it
basically outsourced.
Yeah, because contracts used to have retentions built into them.
Well, of course, any contract should have. You know, that's
They had to come in and fix it.
yeah, and that's where Robin could tell us about contract writing. So I believe that we should bring these things back into the local community, the New Plymouth district. We have people with the expertise, so they might have to reinvest in a bit of machinery, or maybe Downers will unload these cheaply, but this would bring money back and economic growth back to our community. Our money would stay in our community. Pardon?
We don't want the cones though.
No, we don't want the cones. No, I'll talk about those shortly. So I would suggest fortnightly meetings with the Mayor, with business leaders, or not just the Mayor, with the Council, to introduce innovation. So our Mayor, soon to be ex because he's resigned, works 2 days a week at PowerCo. Now he's paid $160,000 a year to be our Mayor. He only does 3/5 of that work if he's working at PowerCo 2 days a week. Those 2 days a week could be spent going around the community and seeing how he can serve the community. Doesn't happen.
He's still a shareholder of PowerCo too, so he's got the money.
So apparently, New Plymouth District Council runs on the premise that the average income in New Plymouth is between $116,000 and $136,000 a year.
Based on council salary.
Yeah, and they're the figures that they work out the affordability of water rates and presumably our home rates. So I'd love to have that annual income. Mine's probably lucky to be about a sixth of that. So as a third generation Taranaki business owner, I ran and operated Chaos Cafe, learning the importance of balancing budgets, maintaining assets and investing in what matters. These principles are definitely absent in Council's decision making. So New Plymouth District Council's core role is to deliver the essential services: water, rubbish, roading, footpaths, lighting, community recreation. These services, funded by our rates, are a social obligation that we committed ourselves to support, and we do so willingly if the money is spent wisely. However, our rates are increasingly diverted to high-profile projects that don't address our urgent needs. Crumbling infrastructure, neglected water systems, and poorly planned initiatives are letting our community down. For example, millions have been spent on facilities like the sports hub up at the racecourse, cycleways, without proper planning, while basic infrastructure repairs are overlooked. At a recent council meetings, finding savings was talked about, but at no point did the councillors actually discuss real practical savings that can be achieved. We've discussed this, we can see it now. Nobody discussed it. So New Plymouth District Council collects $141 million annually from rates, alongside service fees and government grants. On our rates bill, on the back are the targeted water services, water, sewerage and stormwater, and these targeted rates that should be ring-fenced should cover all the issues that are happening now. We see little transparency, and recently $24 million was spent on water meters. Now that could have been spent on fixing water infrastructure. So it is imperative that we do not allow the control of water outside of the New Plymouth District Council's purview. So no CCO and in-house model, because once this water is out of our control, we will never get it back. Water is meant to be free. So a very quick rundown of wastage at the New Plymouth District Council, and boy, this could go on forever, but it's not going to. $4.5 million spent on the original sports hub design, which was originally going to go in the middle of the racecourse. It now goes over the side by the TSB Stadium. That $4.5 million plan is redundant, down the drain. A new wide footpath and resealing of the upper portion of Wairau Road, which is round about where I live, in Awagura, seriously restricts traffic flow. It was then dug up for a new water main, which was always in the plans, less than 12 months later. And then the road was resealed, the footpath, the pedestrian crossing and the gutters were re-established. Traffic management costs were 2/3 of the combined project costs. Now, if there had been some interdepartmental consultation at council, money and disruption, because time is money, would have been minimised. $125,000 a week at Lenline, 4% of our rate take. So if they close that tomorrow, we'd all have 4% off our rates. Library and Museum, $263,000 per week. I'm sure that there are roles that double up in those two organisations that could be combined and cut costs.
Is it correct that there are 39 employees at the Midday Centre?
I think it's more, isn't it?
48. Yeah. I have ambition.
The debacle of the Carrington Street Huatoki intersection, that as soon as the raised crossing was built, it was closed due to safety concerns in the original design. It's just been reworked. I submitted a local government official information request at council and didn't receive the correct information, so that's been resubmitted, but those figures will be high. Cycleway to Waitara. I'm not actually against the cycleway to Waitara. I am against the gold-plated version. If council wanted, their main cost would be a 500-metre sealed original road. It's a paper road. All they'd have to do is seal it, and it goes to an existing bridge that would then go into Waitara. Council wants to build a $20 million bridge further up the river, 500 metres up the river, from the original bridge, and then purchase land, which they to put the cycleway back down to the other side of the original bridge, and they will then gift that land to iwi. It's our money. Right, and just briefly, the septic system at the airport. 60 years ago, the original airport was built in its original position. Huge amounts were spent on the artwork when the new airport building was built, but the upgrade to the original wastewater system, which apparently runs on a septic system, was ignored. A new lookout, as mentioned by Mark, was built by the CCO, the company managing the airport, of which New Plymouth District Council is the major shareholder. So that's all of us folks. Now the wastewater septic system needs work, and the money spent on the unnecessary lookout should have either fixed that or been paid to the council as a dividend to start repaying some of the debt that airport has cost us ratepayers. So if the flush on your loo was broken, would you fix the flush or would you retile the bathroom? The CCO has retiled the bathroom. So I'm not here to point fingers, but to demand better. We need a council that focuses on core services, ensures fiscal responsibility and listens to ratepayers. That's how you run a business. Our community isn't a cash cow for vanity projects or unchecked spending. Rate increases should not outpace our ability to pay. That is what is happening, especially when most of us haven't seen any income growth. I very much doubt that even successful businesses have seen much of a pay increase for their employees in the current economic environment. So people are losing their homes, others are talking of moving away, hardly encouraging growth in the New Plymouth District. Now, very briefly, on the topic of representation, I'm with these two guys. I believe in equality for all. The Treaty of Waitangi, signed almost 200 years ago, promised equal citizenship for everyone in New Zealand. And if we're elected to council, we will represent everybody equally, regardless of race, age, ethnicity, you name it. I do not support Maori wards. We've had Maori representatives, Dini Moahu, Howie Tamati. They got in because they stood there and they talked to people and they got the vote.
But how come they don't have to live in the district?
Special dispensation from the mayor.
Oh, of course it is.
Surely a Maori ward is the absolute epitome of racism because it assumes Maori are
Yeah,
inferior.
of course it does.
And they can't do it unless the lordly white man hands
The
them.
same as the council's just announced that they will give preferential contracting to anybody of Maori descent. And anybody of Maori descent, we've got, I think is it 8 pints of blood, 5 litres or something. I can get an eyedropper and put a drop of Maori blood in a white person and they've got Maori blood.
Well, I can give you a situation I know of where one family has one Maori ancestor 8 generations ago at least, maybe 9. That means they are 1/256th part Maori.
But they qualify under the...
They are 1/512th part Maori,
Yeah.
and they are Maori. They have been Yarramarrai, they have no Maori connections, and they have been accepted as Te Atea.
Yep, that is exactly right.
Can I identify as a Maori now?
Yeah, anytime you like. Just go to the little tattoo and away you go.
Seriously, what you can do, and I'll interrupt you, you can go down and enrol on the Māori electoral roll, and there's no questions asked, you just go and change.
It's even better than that. You go in and you don't tick any of the boxes and they will automatically put you on the Maori roll.
Okay, so guys, back to it. Unity, not division, is the way forward for the community. So I don't support the Maori wards. It is, as Shane Jones said, it is Kiwi, not iwi. Our ancestors laid the foundation for the infrastructure that we rely on today. They paid for it, built it. My granddad he built the first oil refinery in New Plymouth, Wataroa. Our previous generations fought for our freedoms, built our province, and passed down wisdom with honour that we must respect. So add to this the racism being promulgated by councils. What councils are slipping through is totally divisive, supporting co-governance with Maori veto. What that means is we will have no say. So,
But the only thing with that is not all Maori veto anyway.
no, totally not.
So aren't you glad Mr. Holden's leaving?
Going back to your roads, we all know how the potholes and stuff around in town, our local roads, not the main ones done by the main contractors. Now, I don't know if anybody remember, the council undertook an experiment with doing old tyres. We know how many old tyres go to the dump. Now, they did an experiment somewhere from Pendava Street and Loudon Street, a strip down there. Does anybody know whatever came about that? Whether it was feasible or not to do it?
Never heard.
To come out of it, whether it was good or bad or what.
Well, they probably use old tyres around kids' playgrounds because they're pretty bouncy when you land.
Kerry, can you explain how the decision making gets made in council between the councillors, the mayor and the CEO? People need to understand how important that mayoral's role is.
So the mayor, basically, he signs off the agenda. So if you're a councillor and you want to talk about something controversial that the mayor doesn't agree with, doesn't go on the agenda, it doesn't get discussed. The mayor is the one person that employs the CEO of council. Whilst we're meant to be a community where we all discuss things around the council table, it's ultimately up to the mayor. So if you've got a mayor that isn't...
Also, does that mean Gareth's done?
What's that?
Does that mean Gareth's done?
We don't know.
It says on the council website that councillors are responsible for the CEO.
No, it's the mayor.
Yeah.
Totally the mayor.
That book is circulating around, I've just turned a page in it, it's circulating around and it shows you the structure and the management of how it all runs. So it's got the mayor, the CEO, and then the 5 and 6 odd department chiefs.
So the mayor should be like a funnel, the council at the top comes down, the mayor's the one that goes down to the CEO and then it refunnels out around to the council, but that isn't what happens.
Those around the council table are party to the decision. The mayor is the interface between the council and the CEO and directs the CEO as to what the council's going to do. So when you're making your voting, it is really, really important that you do some due diligence on who you want as mayor. Because he can make or break the next 3 years. These
what's
guys
the
can
actual
stand.
job of the CEO? What are they?
The CEO runs the council organisation.
But doesn't run the mayor, does he?
No, well, in theory.
They work like this. It's the two of them together.
So the mayor is, as mentioned by Mark, is like really into the local government New Zealand. And if you look up, Google local government New Zealand and then look up, it says our people. And you go through that and you realise that there's an awful lot of central government bureaucrats that have then gone sideways. They are very politically correct. And to the point where everything, Maori is first and English is second. And local government New Zealand, they also run or oversee the local government funding agency where we borrow all our money from. Auckland City Council pulled out of local government New Zealand and then they no longer borrow money through local government funding agency. So as ratepayers, we all underwrite every council in New Zealand that borrows from the local government funding agency. If a council defaults on its debt, we get to help pay that debt. New Plymouth gets to help. So these guys willy-nilly borrowing money because they sort of feel like somebody else will pay the debt.
you talk about the council paying the rates for the Mariahs.
Yeah.
Do they charge them water as well?
No, it's free now.
Probably not at the moment, no.
Under the
And
current
probably not
administration, I
either,
would
quite
doubt.
frankly.
So will you three vote against us being part of the local government?
I will, definitely, that's something I feel really strongly about.
Now, when you go to council and you're in chambers and you're sitting there listening to all the palaver, do you guys realise that they've already made up their minds about how they're going to vote? All you see is theatrics.
There is no transparency.
No.
I see that Holden's the chair of the local government.
Provincial.
Yeah, at the moment.
And Sarah Lucas, who is running for the Inglewood,
No, she's
Ward
not
and
running.
mayor.
Inglewood Ward and Mayor, is also very high up in local government New Zealand.
When you're saying about the transportable posts, is there any way that you can actually, if you manage to get into council, is there any way that you can go back to the original?
That's what we would like, is to go back to first past the post. Yeah, yeah.
You would need to leave local government New Zealand to do
I would leave local government New Zealand tomorrow if I had the same.
Yeah, with leaving local government, where's Max Bruff and Chong sit on that?
You need to ask them, but again, we can tell you.
I don't want to speak for them, that's
Yeah.
there.
We don't anecdotally, but you need to ask them formally. We already have, it's not my place or to question quote, you need to ask them.
On that local government New Zealand side of it, a really good example on that at the moment happens to be Waikato.
That's the regional council.
And they did.
The council itself voted, the population, the constituents voted, they wanted out of local government New Zealand. You've now got the councillors sitting around the table saying no, they want to stay in it. It is one other really good example of why you've got to be so meticulous in who you vote for. They have to have your interests at heart and speak to what you want to have done. And that's not using the political pontification that's coming out of the likes of Moira George, Sarah Lucas, and a few others that are out there that are just glossing over it. So be very, very mindful about what you are looking at. There's other wannabe councillors out there that have done no homework as to how this works. Oh, we're just going to stop this. Well, how? What are you looking at and how are you going to do that? So just because somebody seems nice doesn't make them the right
All looks
person.
good.
Yeah. All looks good like Kerry. Make sure,
Oh no, I wasn't talking about us.
make sure what's coming out is substance. Understand what they're standing for. You can't just go, oh, they sound good. That's how we're in the mess we're in. So be mindful.
So we have this mess, but something that, so the other election that comes up is the regional council election. Now I had a friend that worked as a gardener for the regional council. She worked up at Pukeiti. The regional council had a Christmas party for the Pukeiti staff. Then they had a Christmas party for the 3 regional gardens, Pukeiti, Hollards Gardens and Tupari. These guys all take time off work and are paid for this, so we've got rates increases with the TRC. TRC then had a combined total organisation Christmas party down in Stratford, where everybody drove down, got paid for and all got a nice gift hamper. We are getting a big rates increase on TRC. Actually, I haven't even looked at TRC at the moment, but that is something that we seriously need to look at as well, because they're spending well and truly outside our control. So I'll just finish up here, folks. As mentioned, you do need to be scared of what's going on in council without change, because we've gone from $130 million debt in the last 10 years to $406 million now. And it will continue to rise if there is not a change.
Are we limited on time here?
No, but we want everybody to have a talk anyway.
No, that's okay.
Yeah.
One of the things that's a festering sore that keeps coming up is the Levi Centre. What would you do with that? I have my very firm ideas on it, and you touched on it.
If we can, well, I believe I'm talking for all of us, we all feel the same, we would close it. However, we don't know what little fish hooks have been left by council into the Lenlai Foundation. So we don't know if they've signed contracts to keep it open. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous that...
Kerry, sorry. We pay $125,000 per week to keep this place open, right?
Yep.
Now, this is run by a trust.
Yes.
And there is no transparency. As ratepayers, we should know that the money's been spent.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Well done. Yep, so just elaborate on that.
48
One of the people on council who actually was, I think, the chair of the arts community and whatnot, argued strongly towards not raising an entrance fee for Lenlai. I probably pay, so it's $15 for an out-of-towner to go.
17.
Yeah, they've raised it to 17 now, and people, there was a vote around the table, it actually got raised $2 a head from out-of-towners. On my rates, I pay $100 a year towards Lenlai. I haven't been for a few years. Once you've seen it, you've seen it all, quite frankly. So, but we don't know. We can promise the world, but we're not going to, because we don't know what we're being left with.
Well, there's another thing to do with that, because I was listening to Liddy Mo how he's speaking to another group I was in. Sometimes they're given for a meeting 1,500 pages.
Oh, totally.
Correct.
There are smaller ones where there are 300 pages, which would be a mountain to climb on its own. I've just been speaking to an individual whose daughter writes briefing papers for cabinet ministers in the national government, which is surely a slightly bigger enterprise.
Slightly.
And they are limited to a maximum of 10 pages, and as well as that, they must have an executive summary. Now, one of the reasons there are so many pages in these things is simply to cover up and
So obfuscate that, yeah.
Exactly.
So that's what I said in my speech. If you've got heaps of pages, they should be allowed at least a week to have a look at.
Yeah.
So another question
Can I
for
just,
you guys.
I just go back to Dave's comment about the Lenlai, etc. So if you go back to those with a memory, so originally Lenlai was built on the donations and the wishes of John Matthews. Right. Now, at the time, it was touted as being completely separate from anything to do with council. But again, Lynn Bublitz, I believe, and Councillor Morris Betts got involved with it. And what essentially happened is Lenlai has now been blurred across into council. But there's also another aspect to it as well, and Dave mentioned it. Now, the trust, the Gavette Brewster, now Mrs. Brewster gave her endowment for the Gavette Art Gallery. So then come Gavette Brewster. What the council have done is they've combined the two to cover their backsides. So now Gavette Brewster Lenlai, it's all part of the one trust. So essentially, whether we can legally shut it down or reduce the hours, we need to see the contract and see the bits of paper. But ideally, excuse my language, there's 48 people in there, that's way, way too many. way, way too many. So again, reducing that on limited hours is a start. To at least cut that $125,000 down.
Yeah.
But again, like so many other things, and we've mentioned before, that sports hub. Now, ideally, I'd like to get out of that. The walkway between Bellbus and Waitara, again, I need to see the small print.
Yeah.
Again, as you know, anybody got any range, anything to do with a contract, there's normally an exit clause. Now, we've seen council business and there's no warranty on any of the stuff. They'll build something and with the stuff up, you should be able to go back and claim on a warranty. But again, contractually, these guys seem to be inept. But we need to see the small print before we can say, yes, I want to get rid of that. But
Inept or deliberate.
that's the word.
So another a quick question for you guys. Would you be open to pushing transparency of familial relationships with people that are attached to council that are working in council businesses, including all of the current bunch of councillors that want or wannabe councillors coming into it?
Are you talking about nepotism?
I'm talking about connections into staff, where they've got husbands, wives, children's working there, where you've got another one that we know of that has a stepfather relation running.
So you're talking about jobs for the boys?
And girls.
No, I'm talking about clear transparency so that there is no conflict of interest.
Yes.
Okay, so what she's talking about here is Annika Carlson Matthews, who's not standing in next year, but she's been a councillor. And Matthews, that might be familiar to you. So John Matthews.
John's stepdaughter.
Yep, Tupari Gardens.
There's a potential councillor that's partner, husband works in council.
Yes.
Conflict of interest.
Yeah. Your brothers are the small, incestuous little place.
Well, when we were at the arts, listening to them argue about $2 extra for the people coming into town for Len Lai, this person stood up and argued very strongly against any increase, and yet her stepfather is John Matthews. Now, from my point of view, she should stand back and say, well, I have a conflict of interest. Yeah, exactly. And one of the comments that she made, which I pounced on because I've had a business in town, and parking is crucial for our businesses in town, was she made the statement when she was arguing against the Len Lai increase. She said, we raised parking costs in central New Plymouth to discourage cars coming into town.
There you go.
Yeah.
Many years ago when it first came out, for display a lot of it, we used to see a lot of it all over the place, in the park, on Christmas occasions and all the...
Are you talking the Len Lai works?
Yeah, but now and even in the Len Lai itself, the building go at Brewster, you hardly see anything of it. So what's the point in keeping it if they're not going to show it? Might as well sell it. I'm sure there's lots of places, and I know that Hamilton and Christchurch put a bid in it for one stage, and they want it. Get rid of it. I say.
Or turn it into an exhibition centre and earn money on it.
The suggestion was made to me is, why don't we bring, obviously we're not in the Te Papa League where they can bring in Rembrandt and Van Gogh and all this sort of thing, but why can't we put in that centre, put some visiting, internationally renowned, maybe not that expensive, but it would bring people into our district. We've got to look outside the square and start earning some money, and that thing's just a white elephant to do this now.
The problem is those people are very, very comfortable, they're protected, and they have no intention whatsoever of economising.
And that's where we have to try and change that.
Another thing is this opening up of the Metro Plaza. It kind of felt to me like that was trying to be rushed through before. Because they haven't thought about that. Once they open it up, they're opening up a can of worms. Underneath that is just, they have no idea. And they say we're only going to pay for the...
So there is a property developer who is very good at what he does, and he actually expressed interest a long time ago when they had chaos. He expressed interest in purchasing the parking building when council closed it down. He wanted to buy it, upgrade it, earthquake-proof it. Council delayed it for years, and then they talked about selling it to the same company that owns Centre City. And then they brought it back in-house and said that they would do it. Now that is the same developer that is included in all that development. He does know what he's doing. Whether or not council
But we've
knows
said we
what
would
they
do demolition, but that probably means bringing the site through too. And underneath there is just a can of worms.
I've been down there, I've looked.
Once again, council are blinded by what they call free money.
Yes.
So if your private developer puts so much in towards it, the council then think, oh good, we don't have to put so much in. It's still money from all of us.
So thinking of that, this road, the barriers, Tim Jams, whatever you want to call it, that stuff, we were given
3.8 million.
How much?
3.8 million from NCTA.
Yes, and how much have we spent?
Again.
For our budgets blown out.
Yeah.
Bear in mind, that's taxpayer money, so we're still paying for it.
Yeah.
Oh, totally.
But the council took it as free money. If they're having to pay more than that,
Yeah, our
when we
money's
want
free.
it out.
So there is a current councillor in there who turned round and said about the Tim Tams and whatnot, don't worry, the government's given us the money.
No.
And
It's
we
our
need
money.
to use it before they take it away from us.
Yeah. So that is the lack of financial savvy around that table.
They use the ratepayer money to put them there, and they've got to get, taxpayer money to put them there, and they have to use the ratepayer money to get rid of it.
That's right. Just on the issue of the Tim Tams, so for those who don't know, and many of you seem to have a good finger on it, it was 3.8 million, and it was funding from the previous government.
Yes, Labour.
So it's previous government, so when the likes of Julie Ann Genter, I don't know if you know who she is.
Yeah.
Okay, she was the Associate Minister of Transport. Now the Tim Tams, that whole thing, it's not just a coincidence for Newcomer. It has gone in a number of other places around the country. Noteworthy is like the Tasman, gone in there, and they are trying to take it out. But now we mentioned bureaucracy. Yeah. Behind the walls at the council, you've got a team of people, 500, 600 plus people. Councillors come and go, but those bureaucrats like government people, they stay on forever, and they are so hard to move on. Now, we go in there with the majority around the table, and excuse my name, and we start rattling the tree. They are going to dig their heels in like every other government department. They're going to dig their heels in, and they will try and stall and stop us every step of the way.
Climate issues.
We've already found it already. The lady, I won't mention any names, when the mention of people taking out the Tim Tams and the rest of it, she said, oh well, NZTA won't fund us for anything else. Rubbish.
Yeah, it's
rubbish.
bullshit.
The other thing too is, I keep getting this thing done, not finished, and then I got this thing done that's supposed to be finished by the 30th of June, and I said, well, are the cyclists going to start using them then? And hello, there's more happening, and it won't be finished now until it hits town.
They've run out of money is what we got told by one of the businesses. that fortunately for them, sometimes have stopped short of their business. But I mean, if everybody's aware of the fact, there was like when COVID hit, so we had Jacinda in charge, Julie Ann Genter turned around and said that they were going to pedestrianise cities. And we were all like, oh, what a ridiculous concept, that'll never happen and whatnot. Look where it's gone. Central Wellington, a disaster area. Central Auckland. I've just been over at Tauranga. It's, you know, like, I didn't go into the central city this time, but the streets are beautifully cobbled, but there's nobody walking on them. And they're just going, Council in New Plymouth wants to greenify the central city, which means taking out, I think it's 60% of the car parks. You know, you talk to any business people in New Plymouth, not one of them has been consulted.
What was that, Kerry, taking out what?
Taking out car parks, and they're going to put great big blocks of greenery.
That's what they're doing,
They've started, haven't they?
So they've started that. The other thing too that wasn't in existence 6 years ago was Hepurukua and the private ownership of water. And look how far that has progressed. I mean, 6 years ago there were mutterings about the infrastructure being inadequate in New Plymouth, but now it's like, whoa, doom and gloom, disaster. The whole city's going to come to a screeching halt if we don't change to a CCO where they can borrow huge amounts of money. $24 million a year at least they can save and put into water infrastructure and identify and go for broke. Maybe borrow a bit more to get it done if it's that urgent.
And where do you think that money's coming from?
Yes.
Us.
What you spoke about the ownership of or the professional developer of the building before. What's going on with the guy down who's trying to do the Motorola cool stalls?
That was the port objected to them developing those. We're happy to sell it to them, but then objected on the grounds that people would complain about noise. Well, from my point of view, you buy a property down by the port, you sign on the contract. The noise is there in existence, and double glazing, concrete walls.
Hasn't that moved ahead?
Building an airport.
Hasn't that moved ahead because they're demolishing part of it now?
Yes.
Yeah.
But how many years has that development been stalled? How much money has been wasted on lawyers?
Yeah. Couple of snippets for you, okay, as far as the CEO is concerned. The mayor only needs a quorum of 4 councillors. Okay? All councillors don't have to vote on the performance review for the CEO, only 4. So if the mayor's got 4 little minions that he wants to...
4 plus him?
Yep, 4. That's it. It doesn't have to go across the whole council. That's in the local government...
I know 3 that are water.
Yeah, it's in the local government legislation. Another thing interesting I found out recently is that the council, okay, is going into rest homes to assist in the voting. Okay? Now, I'm looking at that from a legal standpoint on whether or not that is actually legal. Because in essence, what they're doing is they're going in and influencing the vote. So any of you that have got people who are in rest homes, be very aware of what these bastards are up to.
Kerry Vosseler, that's where he got his support base. Go into the rest
And that's
homes,
that in itself
and
is...
people that mayhaps don't have the memory that they used to have, Kerry Vosseler, yes, we know that name, will vote.
It's known as lobbying and it's illegal.
Would you like to explain what Mr. Dienhoven did to Miss Furs in council?
Oh, yes.
Do tell.
So poor old Harry is sitting there, you know, white face, white hair.
Harry done nothing.
Yeah, that's one. And some of us don't stand for the karakia.
That's right.
Now, we're not forcing this on anybody, but some of us don't believe that we should have a married incantation in council. It should be open to all cultures, all things. Like if you say married, we need to say it in English, right? They don't. As I said, 96% of people don't understand that Maori is spoken. So we're sitting there, and apparently the lady actually did stand, but he accused her of not standing. She asked if she could turn up the speakers because she couldn't hear. She's an older lady, and the speakers in the council chambers are not that clear. And he told her, no, you didn't stand up for the karakia, we are not turning the speakers up for you.
You don't deserve to hear.
Don't deserve to be spoken.
Yeah. And it wasn't her in the first.
And what's the treaty say? Equality for all?
Correct. Well, the original one.
Has Gordon Brown put his name forward again?
We don't know.
He's not.
Yes, he has.
Well, has he told me?
Yes, has he? He did say he wasn't going to stand, but then we heard that maybe he was, but we can't speak to him until we see.
I've known Gordon for a long time, and he told me just a few months ago that he wasn't going to stand because of his wife's health.
Yeah, we heard that his wife wasn't well, but again, at council 2 weeks ago, he was making noises and poking the ball rats, the likes of Harry and Tony Bedford, that he would be standing. Of course, they all took the bait and he dined out. If you know Mr. Brown, an ex-journalist locally, he's particularly eloquent. He's also long-term chairman of that Te Huinga Taumatua committee.
What does that stand for?
Don't ask me.
Why is that even mentioned?
It's a board representing Maori interests in council.
So, a bit of background on that one. You might remember recently that the business about the seabed mining. So Debbie Nariwa-Paka and along with all representatives of the local iwi went to council in front of that committee and made submissions about their opposition to seabed mining, and the committee voted and they agreed with iwi and Debbie, and they drafted a recommendation and a wording for a notice of motion to go to full council. Now, so that's the committee, but I need to give you a bit of background about the seabed mining. Now, if you don't know, you haven't been here before, that's occurring 12 miles outside New Zealand territorial limit. So, the influence, there's no influence from council. The only council that could influence is the South Taranaki District Council, not this one. In fact, as this one here commented, it was the same as Invercargill having an objection to seabed mining off the Taranaki coast and putting a motion together. In other words, it's got absolutely nothing to do with the Plymouth District Council, the seabed mining. it's occurring 12 miles outside our territory limit. It's in the exclusive economic zone. Nothing to do with any council. And that's what's, excuse my language, that's what's pissing them off.
Wanganui Council have just been approved to be part of that discussion group.
Why? It's got nothing to do with it. It's got nothing to do with it.
They're on it.
Right, that's why they're mining out there. That's why they're mining out that far out. So they're not subject to any nonsense or oversight from anybody else.
It's also the case that they are saying that the fish won't be able to breed because of all these spoils years. Have you ever flown off that coast when there's been floods coming down?
It's a base and bottom.
Yeah, so
Exactly the same thing.
yeah, so again, right by the side, and the Patia River is much like the Uranui River. It's a muddy, sandy river. It's not a stony river.
All of those rivers all the way down, including the Wanganui.
Are heavily silted, and you know when you go past here after a big storm, that silt disbursement goes way, way out.
It's brown to the horizon.
Yep.
And 12 miles is basically from here to Ocado. If you walk from here to Ocado, that's a long way out at sea, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
And out from Port Taranaki, when they dredge the port, they go out maybe a couple of kilometres and open up and drop it all. Now I swim down at East End a lot, and I can't say that we notice any difference in the water quality, like 4 k's away probably.
Talk to the fishermen, especially since the reserve areas of the offshore marine reserves have been extended. There's fish up the yin-yang out there.
It's all financial.
If you get in council, which I hope you don't, I hope you're going to clamp down on the so-called climate money, change money that they're spending, and
So climate denier, racist, what other things do they like throwing at? Anti-vaxxers, that's the latest one that's been thrown at us, you know. Anything that denigrates us because they don't like what we stand for.
And you should only be flying the Union Jack or a
Union
off the boat.
The New Zealand flag, which is everybody's flag.
The New Zealand flag, not the Gaza, the Palestinian flag, and not the gay pride flag. I don't care what people are.
Can they get rid of that so-called red strip by the centre city thing?
It's being blackened very quickly, so it's going to go all by itself.
Well,
And that was Annika Carlson, and she's no longer.
Well, Russia and repainted the following election.
And the funny thing about it is all this so-called pride, they call it a rainbow and stuff like that. It's actually not. Because if you look at it closely, it's only got 6 colours. They're missing the violet on the end. So they're not a proper rainbow.
Well, it's not in council's purview. We've got the DEI thing.
Not a proper rainbow.
If you look
Just
in
pretend
council at the 5 executive managers that they have, we have the one Maori gentleman that runs the iwi affiliations and things like that, and then there are 4 women. Now, from my point of view, I don't think the odds are very good that 4 women are any better than 2 women or 2 men. I believe that it should be the best person for the job. It shouldn't be about the gender. It should be about your ability. And if you look at council, and there was somebody announced something this morning, some management person at council below these executives, another woman, and it's like, really? If you're white and ambitious and male in council, you might as well leave and go to the job somewhere else, because you are not going to get advancement around the table as it stands now.
That booklet there's got all the management structure on it, pass it down, have a look.
I heard from various sources that when the so-called elected Maori people on the council hardly ever go to council anyway.
Exactly. It's been remedied.
We're going to be very careful with what we say here, because we had a week to do with that.
We've been attending a lot of meetings
We do a
and
lot
seeing
of
who's
so we
sitting around the
know
table.
who turns up, who doesn't, and what the chair of the meeting would actually do is read out excuses, and you can see the real excuses for certain councillors, mentioning no names, when they even didn't tender excuse. So what happened is, I believe it was the taxpayers union, someone must have done a bit of whistleblowing, I don't know who. Yeah. And the taxpayers union wrote a formal letter to council pointing out the anomalies. They got a legoima first, so they got all the details of the attendances and pointed out that certain personnel, which remain unnamed, were not attending council whatsoever. They have the option of attending by Zoom. They weren't doing that either. And so things change real quick.
And a legoima is a local government official information.
Sorry, that's my fault. Thank you for that.
Another question for you on the council working groups they have where the decisions are made. How much knowledge have you guys have got how those actually work? How much knowledge of those working groups have you garnered as to how the decisions are being made and how it's opened up to knowledge-based people to get involved?
Are you talking about like the Age and Disability Committee? You're talking about some of the decision-making, the Finance and Audit Risk Committee? Right, okay. There are a number of committees who make decisions or recommendations to General Council. They have in the past on the Finance, Audit and Risk Committee brought in outside expertise, which they have to pay for, which you have to pay for. But again, there are committees here I believe we can, how can I say nicely, get rid of because we do not need. Outside consultants, we're being charged a fortune for. The Aged and Disability Committee is chaired by Councillor Bennett. You might know, for instance, his involvement in that set of steps down, going from Fitzroy, the road going down to Fitzroy Beach car park. Right? Start off at $3.5 million and they're patting themselves on the back of getting it down to 1.4. Now, again, just to put things in perspective, some of you may know what's going on up the mountain. They managed to keep my language, they managed to build a bloody bridge across the Mainoi Gorge for a similar amount. And they have to build a set of steps down there. The same. Yeah. Just crazy. Reality, common sense, and yeah, again, we're seriously lacking that, both at a council level and at the tendering process. Someone gets a council tender, they are, excuse my language, they are taking the mickey out.
And there is no parking at the top, down the end of Beach Road, where they are talking about building these steps. However, if somebody goes down to East End, there's lots of, they can just automatically get onto the cycle walk with a walkway, cycleway, whichever, and there's car parks for applicants. So, for the matter of 300 or 400 metres of extra driving, do we spend all these millions of dollars for how many people that are going to use? Crazy. Well, somebody in a wheelchair can't get down those steps. They're going to do what everybody else has had to do and go down the road that's already in existence. So it's just superfluous to what we actually need.
So just on the walkway again, how many people do you think who are going to start off at the Windward and ride, bike, scooter, or whatever you like, all the way from Windward out to Waikato? Well, you really
do it once a week.
From New Plymouth?
From Belmont to the end of the breakwater from there. I would go to Waikato if it was there, but only if it was there. I wouldn't do it if it wasn't there.
Do you know? Okay.
But if you take how many people use the walkway now as bike riding in the mornings, there's a lot.
You're right. Now, again, I can
from Belmont to the bridge, there's probably
I can
there is
tell you, I've been clobbered 4 times walking it. So
there's way more people on the walkway on a bike than there is on South Road.
Totally. Exactly. And we went to a council meeting
on South Road. I don't know whether others know, but they have put one of those tachometer things right outside of Pioneer Road to obviously see how many don't go over it.
Maybe that's where the Tim Tam should go, on the walkway.
Yeah, so it's interesting.
It's funny.
Did you see the soul though, one person that was biking was going over it, so they
so serious.
bring the numbers up.
Between everything over one year, there was no breaking it down into who caused the accidents, because it was a bike turning in front of a car or whatever. It was all done on that. We spent all that money because they
But it's all right because the government had to. So we went along to a council meeting when they were making submissions. Members of the public were making submissions on the walkway, on the cycleways and whatnot. And there were a couple of elderly gents that came on up, they were cyclists. They've been round the mountain several times in their younger days and things like that.
They were in the 80s.
Yeah, and they will not use those cycleways because they are dangerous. If you're going along and you need to turn suddenly because a car backs out or something, you're going along at 30 k's and you literally got to do a right angle that instant. They won't use it. They said they use the cycleways, they'll use the footpaths or they will use the roads.
There was a classic example, I think a couple of days ago, in fact it was Councillor Murray Chong, saw a cyclist hit the Tim Tam, he got thrown off his bike, and Murray was going to put him in his ute, take him home, he had to take him out to the hospital. So, you know, it just happened.
It's starting now. And as the weather gets better, there'll probably be a few more of those.
Oh, yeah.
There was talk this morning though of those counters on the cycleway, so they only go out as far as the left and right hand left.
So the bike
and people going over them and then going back onto the footpath and then going over them and going back so that the count goes up. So if you see anything like that, get your phone out and take a video.
Or better all kids from Spotswood either do that because they can. You know,
well,
just for something to do.
I probably would have gone and jumped on it in my youth.
Isn't that what they did? The council, they actually got a whole lot of school kids to go in and put submissions in. They're not rate paper.
Yeah, you'd be right.
That's cool.
Right, anybody else? Just kind of aware of the time here.
So, folks, think carefully about who you vote for.
And talk to everybody.
How you vote. Remember, it's not a tick, it's a 1, 2, 3,
Ranking.
4, ranking, and your mayor.
And I'm at the bottom, because I'm a councillor.
David Fox.
So feel free to put a one under my name.